Sophia Ellis, welcome to the David Rams podcast, the Ramsden podcast. Sorry, the Ramsden podcast. Change the
Hello.
name. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Awesome. Yeah, great. I've actually been really excited to get you on. You're very inspiring for a lot of people, and I really hope we can show more people who you are and what you're doing through this podcast, because I think you could inspire even more people to do incredible things like you are. Because you just last month, March 19th, right? You just inspired probably a lot of people. You were in plant-based news with this. You just set the British record for the women's deadlift, right? The
Yeah.
237.5 kilos deadlift, which is 523.6 pounds, which is deadlift is. Do you want to describe what the deadlift is for somebody who doesn't know what that is? Because this is insane what you did, I think.
So describe what a deadlift is,
Yeah,
or
like what
yeah.
did you do? How you lifted that weight, but what exactly did you do to lift that weight up?
So yeah, a deadlift is pretty self-explanatory. It's literally just a dead weight that you pick up off the floor.
Right,
And then in powerlifting, you basically get a command to like a down command, and then they tell you when to put it down once you're like fully locked out,
right,
and you've got to stay with the bar on the way down. You can't just drop it from the top.
right,
So that's basically what the deadlift is, and you can do that either conventional stance or sumo stance.
right.
I do a sumo stance, but I also train conventional as well. But that particular deadlift was a sumo deadlift.
So you lifted from the ground 237.5 kilos all the way up, locked out, and then slowly put it back down again.
Yeah,
Basically.
pretty much. Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
that's pretty much what it is.
But it's an insane amount of weight. It's crazy. And I've seen the video, and you did not look like you were struggling.
Yeah, it was
You look
mad. Like
happy.
I didn't expect it because basically, like my whole goal for that competition was to win. Because basically, the British Championships, if you win it, then you're considered for GB selection again. And I competed for GB last year, and obviously, I really wanted to get back on the squad this year.
Mm,
So my goal was to win it. I basically needs to be in the top 3 best lifters to be considered for the Arnolds this year.
right.
And also, it's the heaviest deadlift within British powerlifting history over all weight classes. So
Wow.
we just went for it, and I had no idea how it was going to move, but it started moving, and I was just like, oh shit, better hold on to it. Like, don't let go. And yeah, it moved so much quicker than I expected. So that was a really nice surprise.
Yeah.
I was just ecstatic. I think if you watch the video, you can see that there's just so many emotions from that deadlift. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. My body is like all over the place. You can see in my face how shocked I was. But yeah, it meant a lot to me, that deadlift, just because of how much work I put into training. And
Right.
yeah, every time, like on my last deadlift, I always think of my dad, because basically he passed away in 2019. And so I
Okay.
always just like doing it for my dad. And it was just like a really nice kind of like moment for me.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. God, so much riding on it.
Yeah.
Records and the personal stuff as well. And I know you've got a pretty, um, I guess the word would be, well, inspiring and very interesting personal story of how you got into lifting in general, which is also probably part of this whole journey for you, which we'll get into obviously a bit later. I think I'm very interested in discussing that with you. And before we do, I want to also mention it's not only the deadlift that you smashed out on that day. It's insane that you could that alone would be impressive, right? That alone would be like, okay, that's amazing. Let's move on. No, you also set a British bench press record,
Yeah.
which you want to that of 118 kilograms bench press. I think everybody knows what a bench press is. 118 kilograms. That's insane. Like, to me, that's insane. I don't know many people, full stop, who can do that. Without being offensive, men who can do that. I don't know many men who can do that. I don't want to sound like I'm being like biased or stuff, but there is. It's not very common
Yeah.
that you hear of a woman benching 118 kilos, right?
Yeah. No,
Do you know what I mean? It's
especially one
insane.
with long ass arms like I have. Like,
Right. And it's like I don't want to be. It's weird with this because it's like I obviously I don't want to seem like I'm coming across as insensitive or offensive, but it is more commonly expected that a dude is picking up heavy weights, right? And it's so I wanted to get in with you in more detail as well, because you are stronger than 99% of men that I know, and not just by a little bit, by a lot, and that is something that I'm really interested to get into with you more as well, into that how that is for you, and how you got into this. And your squat was 170 kilos as well. And then all
Yeah.
of that together, 525.5 total, which is another British record, right?
Yeah. That was mad actually because that's yeah, I put 25 kilos on my total since December, which was
That's
pretty
mental.
crazy. And
Wow.
what actually blew my mind was I didn't realize till afterwards, till someone told me that it actually was the British record in the classic, which I do, and the
Mm,
equipped. And equipped, they actually wear equipment to make them lift more. So for me to actually break the British record in equipped as well, that
mm.
was kind of crazy for me because, yeah,
It's
I
it's
don't
all
know.
it's all crazy. When I was reading this, I saw a plant-based news article. I've been following you for a while, but I saw the plant-based news article and I was like, oh my God, this is mental. And I was like, right, I've been sitting on this for a while. I've been thinking about having you on, but now's the time because this is
Yeah,
huge, and I think this is a great time to talk about all this. And so I'm happy you're here. And as I think I said at the beginning, you're smashing stereotypes, not only stereotypes between men and women, but also stereotypes about vegans because we didn't mention that, did we, yet in the podcast? You are a vegan and you have
yes,
been
yeah,
for your entire weightlifting career.
yes, yeah, yeah. I have.
So you're smashing that stereotype, and it's been over 10 years, right? That you've been vegan.
Yeah,
Am
I've been
I correct?
about 10 years now. Yeah, so quite a long time. OG vegan.
Yeah, yeah. It's about the same as me. I think for me it's about 12 or 13. We're probably a couple of
Oh,
years apart,
awesome.
which is cool. Yeah, OG before it
You
was
remember,
cool.
like, only having soy milk, there was no other choice of milks. All you could have was, like, falafel. Yeah, it was pretty dire back then.
It was brutal. It was brutal. I used to get these burgers and sausages from Holland and Barrett, and they were like
Oh,
basically
yeah.
cardboard, but they were so cheap. They were like £1 a pack, right? And they were
Yeah.
terrible. That was what I used to basically live off when I was lazy. I just bought packets and packets of these horrible thin sausages and these tiny, like they were literally like
Oh,
slices of cardboard, and you just put it in a bun with lots of whatever you can get a hold of, like expensive vegan mayo because they were all like £4 back then, and just
it was so
it,
overpriced. I
it
mean, it's
was
still there's vegan tax is still a thing, but
right,
it
right.
was, like, really bad back then because there'd only be a couple of products out there, so they just, like,
Mm.
hike the price up, and they make it
Yeah,
as if it was just, like, a health thing.
yeah, they did, and they got away with it too. They got well,
Yeah,
and it's so much better now, isn't it? God, they don't know the struggles we went through. The OGs, they
I
have no idea.
know.
We're not even the OGs, really. There are people who've been doing it for like 30 years. Can you
I
imagine
know,
what
I don't
they were
understand
going
how they
through?
did it. But yeah, I remember literally, like, walking around, you know, when those baby sippy cups?
Uh,
I used to walk around with a baby sippy cup of soy milk just so that I could have
oh
soy
my
milk with a
God.
coffee because not everywhere did soy milk. It was a little Thomas the
Oh
Tank Engine
man,
one, like.
brilliant. Brilliant. I just gave up on stuff like that. I just wouldn't eat out unless I knew they had a I would never go in and say like, "Oh, can I bring my own stuff or can you make me something vegan?" Because it was just I'm socially a bit socially awkward. I think most Brits are a bit socially awkward. Not you, obviously. You took your sippy cup. But for me, I was definitely too socially awkward for that. As
Yeah.
I think a lot of Brits, we are a bit like that, aren't we? Don't want to cause a fuss. Don't want to cause a fuss. So I'll just
Yeah.
not go. So let's kick off at the beginning of your journey into powerlifting because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, like including myself, like how do you go from being a regular person and being to now being like deadlifting insane amounts and breaking records? Like how do you go from that to that? And especially as I want to focus on this as a woman too, because it's far less common, I would say. I mean, loads of dudes get into bodybuilding. It's like a thing that dudes do, like, oh, I bodybuilded for a few years, whatever. But it's a lot rarer in women. Do you agree with that, or am I just talking
Yeah, no,
shit?
I feel like men get into it, like, way younger as well.
Right,
Like, it's
right,
just kind of thing when they're around, like, their teens, they're like, "Oh, yeah, let's go to the gym, let's, like, lift some weights," you know?
right, exactly.
But it's not really a thing for women. I guess we get more
Mm,
into, like, team sports and stuff like that when we're that age. I don't know. I never
right,
really saw the gym as a thing, and, like, even at school when we were introduced to, like, you know, those gym inductions, they were really crappy gyms. Like, there was just,
yeah,
like, weight machines and, like, no one really knew what they were doing, so we just, like, mess around with the medicine balls or whatever.
right,
So
right.
yeah, it was never like I never saw the gym as like a serious thing. Like I used to play football, I used to play basketball, did all these team sports and like athletics, and I took them very seriously. But I never saw the gym as like a thing that I could actually like compete in. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
I'll never take that anywhere. It was never introduced to me like that in that way. It was more as like a supplement for my other like for my other sports. So yeah, it was never something that I really like thought that women got into, I guess.
From a young age, yeah, and I think women aren't necessarily encouraged either. There's like a stigma around muscular women, that at least I've seen, at least a bit of a stigma around it. So it's not encouraged in the mainstream media. It's not really encouraged in inner families and things like that. Whereas for men, it is. It's encouraged. Oh yeah, be big and muscular. That's like a good thing. You go and do that. But it's not like discouraged in women. It's just not. It's not as encouraged, I suppose. So how did you get into it then? Tell us how it began.
It's a bit of a weird story, actually. So, I actually suffered with anorexia and bulimia for about 6 years during when I was a teenager, right through till I was about 21. And so I was at the Royal Maudsley Hospital being obviously treated, and I was actually also doing at university studying fine art, which is like complete opposite to what I do now.
Right.
But because I was so ill, I couldn't go forwards with my scholarship to America through my football, so I ended up just doing art because I loved art as well. But
We
anyway,
glossed
when
over
I
that real quickly. Sorry, you got a scholarship to play football in America.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
so I
awesome. That's
love
pretty.
my
You just kind of
football.
passed over that real quick. That's really cool. By the way, not many people get that kind of. Sorry, continue.
Yeah,
I'm just that.
yeah,
I'm just
no,
making
that
sure
was
I got
really
that.
cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I wanted to do when like finished my A levels. I knew I wanted to do something either with sports or with art or with music. I loved all of them, or biology. So I ended up reaching out actually to a few universities in America, and a few of them got back to me, and like we had video calls and stuff, and they wanted to take me on purely because of my football, but said that I could also do like my fine art on the side or whatever as also as a degree.
Mm,
So yeah, and they offered me a scholarship out there, which was like awesome. But then I obviously got anorexia, and the health care out there was just so expensive. I just couldn't
mm.
afford it. So I ended up moving to Brighton and doing a fine art foundation there, which was really great for being a vegan in Brighton
Oh
because like
yeah.
the vegan scene out there like 10 years ago was so much better than anywhere else, and they were just like really ahead of the times, so it was pretty cool out there. But obviously I was still suffering with eating disorders, and then I moved to London to do my fine art degree, obviously still very ill. I was
Mm,
in and out of hospital all the time, wearing heart monitors. I was an absolute state, to be honest. I don't actually know how I got through university, but I was really lucky in that I got funding for the Royal Maudsley, which is the head of eating disorders within the UK. And so I was there, an inpatient there for about 2 years.
okay.
Um, and it just helped so much, that professional care.
Mm,
But when I left there, I still suffered with bulimia, but I was like at a healthier weight now.
yeah.
But I had basically abused cardio for just so many years because obviously it was always for me, exercise at that point was a way of like punishing myself. So it
Mm,
wasn't because I enjoyed it, it was because I wanted to just burn off the calories that I'd eaten. It was always calories in, calories out. Do you know what I mean? Like trying to burn off everything.
yeah.
And a way of just, yeah, tormenting myself, I guess, even further.
Mm,
And obviously I was in a bad place because I couldn't do my football anymore because I was so ill. I basically pushed everyone away from me. I was super isolated, depressed. I was in and out of these binging, purging cycles all the time. Like I was throwing up 14 times a day, like till I passed out.
shit.
It was an awful, awful place to be in.
Mm,
And physically as well, I didn't want to leave the house just because of how I looked. Like my face was blown up. I'd
mm,
torn my throat from throwing up. It was awful. So yeah, what I ended up getting was a like free gym pass from the council because I was like classed as mentally disabled.
right.
But yeah, I managed to get that gym pass. So I thought, I've abused cardio for so long. Why don't I go into the gym and start like lifting some weights? I've never even considered it before, but I see my brothers doing it, so why not? I started doing my research because I literally love researching everything, and found myself just a plan that I started following, and it just became a way of me not punishing myself through exercise, but really just focusing on what my body was capable of and not focusing on what I look like all the time.
Mm,
And just doing it for me and being in that zone where I can really release any energy or stress and just do it for me for once. and I really got into it, and I have this kind of like, I guess, addictive personality where I kind of go to extremes on things, whether that be
Right.
positive or negative. So it can sometimes be bad, sometimes be good. And yes, I just really put my whole self into it. And someone mentioned to me, like, oh, have you ever considered powerlifting? So I wanted to start competing in something again. And I was like, what the hell is that?
Mhm.
And then so I searched it on the internet and found a local powerlifting club, joined that straight away. Within the first 4 weeks of training, I did my first competition, qualified for nationals in that first comp. And then,
Wow.
yeah, that first year I got selected for GB for the bench only team. Went to Worlds in Japan, which was awesome. And yeah, it just like powerlifting for me at the start was always just a way of like helping to control all the everything that was going in my head, like all those dark thoughts and everything,
Mm.
being able to just release it through the weights, and really just give me self-confidence, being able to really accept my body. And it also helped my relationship with food because I was putting all this work into the gym and I wanted to fuel that,
Mhm.
and not make it, just let it go to waste. So I ended up, my food started getting better as well, obviously alongside that professional help with through therapy. Um, and yeah, it just started getting better. Obviously, I had relapses throughout the first year,
Mhm.
because recovery is never linear. But yeah, it was just so positive and beneficial that I just, yeah, got the bug for it.
Right. And when you were getting these big successes right in the beginning, were you still suffering with the bulimia side of things while getting those successes? Like, were you managing the illness and succeeding at the same time? Because that's crazy if you were
Yeah,
managing that.
so it was, the bulimia got really bad in the last 3 years of the eating disorder.
Right.
And then that last kind of like year, when I was getting into powerlifting, the
Mm.
bulimia was still there, so it wasn't as frequent, so it wasn't like every day like it
Yeah.
used to be. It was either like once a week, or times when I was really stressed or things that were out of my control. It
Mhm.
would almost be a way of coping, like a kind of coping mechanism.
Right, right,
Whereas before it was kind of like a way of, I couldn't live without the eating disorder, but the eating disorder was also killing me at the same time.
right,
But
right.
then at the end of, when I started powerlifting, it was a way of, it still was a way of coping mechanism, but I was just kind of like breaking out of that.
Right.
So yeah, I was still managing it. I was really lucky to have a coach that also had suffered with like mental illnesses in the past, so he really understood and he really guided me through it. So it was really
Wow.
helpful to have that support there. And
Yeah.
then I was also continuing with therapy as well, which really
Okay.
helped. But yeah, it was tough, especially as in my first year I had to cut down for a weight class. It was only like a little bit,
Mm.
but at the time the weight classes were so spread out in terms of how much weight in between, that I kind of had to go into that slightly lower weight class because otherwise I would be against people who were like 10 kilos heavier than me.
Right.
Um, so that was tough to start with, especially dealing with that conflict of like, I've been
Mm.
trying to undo that, trying to lose weight all the time. But then I got into the mindset of, I'm doing this is a temporary thing, and I'm going to then it's only I'm doing it through water, so I was water cutting, it wasn't through actual weight.
Got it.
And then I had also the guidance of a coach there. So yeah, that was tough to start with, but then I kind of like broke out of that and everything, and now I'm in a weight class that I'm actually eating into, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's much better, much better.
Yeah.
How did your friends and family feel about you going and starting powerlifting with, with the situation you were in, and in general as well? I guess did it come as a shock maybe? Yeah, I'm gonna be a powerlifter now, and with your history and well, how did they
Yeah.
react?
Yeah, they weren't really happy about it to start with, because obviously, bless them,
Yeah,
like I dragged them through hell with
right.
me through those 6 years. Like they saw the absolute worst of me, and I'm like so grateful that they stuck by me through it
Mm,
all. But obviously they've been through all that with me. And now I'm saying that I want to compete in something that's like lifting heavy weights, and they've known that I've like broken bones through the anorexia because of
Mm.
the low bone density and everything. So especially my mum, she actually still, even now, she really struggles to watch me powerlift. Like, she supports me for it, but she still finds it really, really difficult to watch me lifting, because her mind always goes back to when I was really ill and really delicate, and
Mm.
like couldn't couldn't even walk without like fainting sometimes. So
Yeah.
it was actually only recently she was like, I think I'm gonna try and watch your next comp. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Nice. See,
She's
parents see us, they see us as their babies at the best of times, but I can imagine in your mum's case, it's even more for her that she still sees you as like a, vulnerable. And but you're
yeah.
proving, it's great that she'll come watch now, because you're proving that, well, you're smashing records now. So I mean, now she can probably feel a bit
Yeah.
more secure. I
She
think.
can see that I'm in a better place now. Like,
Yeah.
my brothers, obviously were quicker to get along with it because they understood it. They train as well, and they can see how beneficial it is for mental health.
Mm.
So they've really got it. And they were supportive from day one. Like, they came to my comps and everything. Like, my whole family was. But yeah, at first it was kind of like I was at this crossroad of going, should I go through bodybuilding or powerlifting? And like, I knew that going to bodybuilding would be just an excuse, a way of restricting again, like
Mm.
hiding all everything that's wrong. And it would just be a way, like an excuse. Oh, I'm just doing it because I'm doing a bodybuilding comp. Do you know what I mean? Like, when actually I knew I'd be doing it for the wrong reasons. So I think they were glad that I went down the powerlifting route. And yeah, I've really like shown everyone that how beneficial it's been. But yeah, no,
Mm.
everyone's like have been super supportive from day one. Like, but they did
Yeah.
have those kind of like doubts at the beginning if I was doing
Yeah.
it for the right reasons or not. Especially as I'd abused all the other kind of like forms of exercise before.
Well, it's great that they gave you the trust on this, because obviously it worked out. And as a vegan as well, so I mean, I can imagine you had the same conversations when you told them you were going vegan too, the family and friends. Like, wait, is this as a powerlifting vegan? What kind of I know you've had pushback on this. You must have, like, within powerlifting, within your family, friends. Tell us a bit about some of any pushback you experienced, like were people telling you, "Oh, your arms are going to fall off," or things like that? Because the things that people say when they find out you're a vegan,
Someone said
first of
that to
all.
you before. Your arms
Oh, well, I'm not a power lifter.
true.
Maybe if I was like, I'm going to be a vegan power lifter, they'd be like, "Whoa, your arms will fall off, mate, because you can't lift weight if you're not getting enough calcium from cow's milk." So, have you ever? What kind of silliness did you get when people were saying vegan power lifter? Really? You must have
Um,
had something.
I actually, within the lifting community, I've not actually had much, and I think maybe
Wow.
part of that is being down to being like quite strong within, like, competitive within powerlifting, or part of it's like people don't really care, like, in the sense of like everyone's just doing their own thing. Like,
Right.
I've never really had any like from the lifting community.
Okay.
People have obviously been really curious and like asked me, and like
Mm.
that's absolutely cool. Like, I'll answer any questions, but no one said anything like negative about it at all.
That's
Um,
really cool. That's
yeah,
really nice,
like, I
actually.
know, and I think, when I first got into powerlifting, like, my first coach, he was vegan, which was really
Wow. Okay.
cool because I was like, "Oh my god, like, you're vegan too, and you coach and everything," and, like, that was really helpful because then I got that nutritional help from another vegan,
Yeah.
in lifting, which was cool. And I think that kinda set the tone within our powerlifting club that, like, you can be vegan, and also the other coach there was vegetarian, so it
Okay.
was like that really set the tone within our powerlifting club that, like, it doesn't matter, like, you
Yeah.
can eat meat, or you can be completely vegan and you can still be strong and lift, like, it, as long as you're doing it right.
It's awesome. Now
And
you
then
mention it, now you mention it, I know, Clarence Kennedy, the lifter. Do you know this guy?
no, I
Oh,
maybe I
you should
should.
totally check this guy out. You would love it. I think he's a power lifter, actually. He's a very famous power lifter in the, well, I thought he was anyway. He's a vegan, but he actually doesn't talk about it ever. And you only know if you know him, if you know what I mean. Like, he doesn't,
Yeah.
it's like hidden. And I think he gets a lot of respect as well, because he's like you, he is like a leader within kind of this powerlifting world. At least I don't know if he's winning records and stuff, but yeah, I thought you might know who he is.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Oh, no, I'll
yeah,
definitely check him out. No, that'll be
yeah.
awesome.
He's pretty impressive. Some of the stuff he does is mad. I don't know if it is powerlifting. With like the snatch and stuff like that. The crate where they throw the weight up.
Weightlifting.
So I think he's a weightlifter. Yeah, not a
Okay, yeah,
powerlifter.
yeah.
Yeah. Guys like does some crazy stuff, and he does backflips and stuff like that with mental. But he's a vegan too. Yeah. So and he seems to get a lot of respect. That was my point when I've watched a few of his videos, and people, the other weightlifters, yeah, they don't make fun of him or say anything dumb because they can't. Look at him, like you. Look at you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't make fun of you. What are you going to say? Oh, you skinny vegan just setting national and European records.
Yeah, I know, I
Doesn't
just
really
like
work.
I
Doesn't
think
really
this is
work.
it as well. I think the time that I joined powerlifting as well, like veganism was very big, like it really was started to like boom.
Okay.
Um and so I don't like if I had have joined done started powerlifting like when I first became vegan, I think I would have had a lot of backlash from it or like a lot of like negative comments. But I think it's just so like well known now. Like everyone knows that you can eat a good diet being vegan and
Mm,
living that lifestyle. So like yeah, I think people just kind of like accept, cool, that works for you and
sure.
whatever. And I mean, I don't like shove it down anyone's throat. So I just do what I'm doing, and it's obviously like paying off. So
You're about to shove it down people's throats, though, because I'm going to ask you why. Why though? Because the thing is, right? Let's be honest. If I'm going to speak as a devil's advocate here, and I'm going to pretend I know nothing about ethics, it would be easier to be a pro powerlifter if you were eating omnivorous diet, right? It'd be more convenient. It'd probably be cheaper, maybe cheaper depending on how what it probably would be with the amount that you have to eat, right? And the size of the calories and stuff like that. I'm going to assume, or maybe I'm ignorant, that it would probably be a little bit cheaper. So more convenient, easier to get food if you weren't vegan. So why are you doing it as a vegan?
I think well, my main thing is the ethical side of it. Like, I wouldn't. I love animals. I want to help the environment and everything. So like for me, I when I see a piece of meat, I see an animal. Like I see a sentient being, and I just can't bring myself to even to eat that. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. I mean, I initially went vegan for health reasons because I was like lactose intolerant and allergic to cheese and stuff. So I was just like, oh, I want to reduce my meat. So I stopped eating meat and fish and everything. But then it's actually when I started looking into it more and doing the more research about it, I realized like, wow, this is so much bigger than us. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
this is so much bigger than what we think. And you find one thing, then you find another, and you're just like, this all connects. How is nobody realizing this? And it started just to make so much sense in my head that like, why are we doing this to animals? Why are we doing this to our planet? And like, I mean, the planet would literally thrive without humans. So if we can like reduce the amount of stuff that we're causing all this like
mm,
pollution and everything, like why not? And I know people say like, oh, but you're only one person's not going to make a difference, but like if everyone was to say that, if everyone was to think like that, do you know what I mean? Like
mm.
if yeah, one person can make a difference because that influences another person, even if it's like a meatless Monday or something like that. That does make a difference, and it all adds up. So yeah, sorry, I've probably gone off complete topic of what you were
No, it's
discussing.
fine.
The
It's
question
fine.
you
No, it's good. It's good to hear your perspective on this. It is, and something that came to my mind is that if somebody wants to bodybuild or powerlift or whatever, and they can't figure out how to do it without consuming eating meat or whatever, or they can't afford to do it without eating meat. I mean, why would you want to eat another animal's muscles to build your muscles just for the sake of competition
right? And
or
look
to
at
look
what
good?
those animals are eating. Like, I
Mm,
think find this really interesting. Like, if you look at the animals that we are eating, who have like lots of muscle and whatever, they tend to have a very plant-based diet anyway.
mm.
So it's like, why don't we just go direct to the source instead of
Right.
eating it through like a second, like a vessel?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, and I think obviously for people like within bodybuilding or strength sports, I think a lot of it is like convenience. Like it's easier to get X amount of protein through just eating a piece of meat. But at the end of the day, like right now, it is actually so easy to be able to. It's veganism is just so accessible now that I feel like there isn't an excuse. And it does purely come down to like pure selfishness, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think for yeah, I totally agree with you. I think for the vast majority of people, it is just pure. It's either selfishness or ignorance,
yeah,
and selfishness clearly is an insult. Ignorance isn't. I think ignorance is. I mean, if somebody is being ignorant on purpose, that's more arrogance, and that is an insult. You're being arrogant, but people just they have the wrong knowledge or they have no knowledge, and that's
no, yeah,
also
exactly.
as
That's
big
a
a
way better
problem.
better way of putting it.
Right, right. But it's totally you're totally right though. I totally agree with you. And while we're on this topic, I know that I'm interested in this. I'm really interested in this. I always want to find out what exactly are you eating to get these crazy poles, these crazy lift these crazy weights. Because as a vegan, I'm sure most people listening are like, all right, I need to know what's going on here. So, what's the average day of eating for you if you're training for building muscle, building strength? So you're not on and off season, you're not maintaining, you're training to actually get stronger, then what would you be eating at the same time in a day?
Well, okay, so I eat quite a lot because obviously I'm trying to gain into my weight class.
Yeah,
But I'll give you just like some examples of what I would eat. So
yeah,
like say for example for breakfast I would either have so I have like a protein shake, and then I'd also have either, you know, those like this is bacon breakfast.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Like I'd make like a either like a bacon sandwich or have like avocado on toast.
That's a
Um
by the way for listeners, that's vegan bacon. It's this
yeah,
this
vegan
this
bacon
yeah,
is
this is the brand THIS. That's the brand. And what was
yeah.
the protein shake? What protein shake was you
I just
having?
have the My Protein Clear
Okay,
vegan shake just because they just taste like juice and it's just so much easier to drink than
okay.
those like heavy, gritty
Yeah,
protein shakes.
that's myprotein.com, right? That's the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So
Okay,
I
so
just use
okay,
those ones.
cool,
And also like the packaging is all like sustainable and recycled or whatever.
nice.
So that's pretty cool.
So breakfast, a
Um,
protein shake, and a this bacon sandwich, right?
Yeah, like
Cool.
something
Okay.
like that.
Cool.
I try and get in protein at the beginning of the day because I
Cool.
know that like I can sometimes be pretty crap with like getting it all in at the end. Like I
Okay.
sometimes struggle to eat enough. Um so I'll try and get as much in at the beginning of the day. And then I'd have like I usually train in the morning, so I'll make sure that I'll have something before training. So like a banana, or like one of those carbohydrate like gels.
Yeah.
And then during training I'll have like an intra workout. So because I can get really dizzy and lightheaded quite quickly, I'd have like either, you know, like sweets, normally Sour Patch Kids, the vegan ones, they're really
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
uh, and then I'll have like a dextrose drink or something, so like a mixture of carbs, electrolytes. And then post training I'll have another shake and either banana or like a bagel, something that's like easy digestible carbs.
Mhm.
Cinnamon and raisin bagels are the one, they are so good.
Yeah, I know the one. I know which one you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd have like another snack. Oh no, I'd have lunch. So I'm really basic with my food. And I think this is stemmed from the bulimia where like I used to make all these extravagant like meals and I'd
Mm.
just like end up binging throughout making it. So now I just make super basic meals that has stopped me obviously previously from binging, but now I've just continue doing it.
All right.
So I just have like a whole pack of rice, vegetables, and then a protein source. So that would either be something like uh, tofu, tempeh, alternative meats, something along those lines that's got
Mhm.
like a high in protein, and then I'll add like nuts and seeds in it, and maybe some sauce as well. And then I'll have another snack, which would be a protein bar or something along those lines, some
Mhm.
fruit. And then dinner would be again pretty simple, just some carbs like spaghetti or whatever, another protein source, and then a load of vegetables, and then obviously you got to have dessert, so that'll probably be like a donut or
Right.
vegan ice cream or something.
Nice. Are you tracking the what's in these, or are you just like going at it and just seeing how you feel when you train and stuff?
So I never used to track, obviously, because it
Mm.
used to like trigger the eating disorder with the numbers and everything.
Mhm.
But now obviously I'm totally fine with it, and on and off, because the eating disorder allowed me to know the calories and content of pretty much every food. So I've kind of got a built-in tracker in my brain, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But sometimes I do track now and again just to make sure that I'm on the right track and I'm eating enough and I'm getting in enough. So actually right now I've started tracking again just to make sure that I am on the right track.
Okay.
I'm hitting around between 160 grams to 170 grams of protein a day, which is pretty good. Yeah, lots of carbs because strength training, your main energy source is carbs, and then the protein is there for recovery. So really high carb diet, like kind of like average fat, so about probably about 40 to 50 grams of fat. I try not to have too much fat, but it is quite hard on a vegan diet not to have loads of fat because
Right.
a lot of the alternative meats will end up having a lot of fat alongside that. But I try and keep it like not super low, but like fairly low, just because it can make me feel a bit sluggish going into sessions if I have too much fat prior to training. So yeah, I try and hit around, in terms of calories, like around 2,400 to 2,600 calories at the moment.
Okay.
I have sometimes been trying to, if I can surpass that, that's great. Like the other day I hit 2,800, which is fab.
Right.
The odd time I'll hit 3K, which is great, but it's very hard for me to get in that much, especially being vegan, just with the amount of volume.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, isn't it? I've tried going like near 3 a day at one point, and yeah, it's just you just don't stop eating, right, basically.
Oh, it's non-stop. Like I was eating bloody super noodles at like
Yeah.
11 p.m. just trying to get in the calories.
But it works, right? That's the thing. It does work. I remember the time when I was going to the gym a lot, and it it worked, But then the second you
Yeah.
stop, you lose all the gains.
This
So
is it. Like I know when I eat like a good amount of food in the day, my training the next day feels so good. But for me, I'm so busy all the time. Like training, I'm also a powerlifting coach. So like
okay.
powerlifting is pretty much life right now. So
Yeah.
like either running around doing coaching or competing or training or something. And so sometimes I find it really difficult to actually get in enough because I'll be like, oh my God, it's 5 p.m. and I haven't even like eaten properly yet. So that's my problem.
Mm.
But like, at Huels, they have been like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
lifesaver for me just because they're like 400 calories, they've got the protein, they've got everything I need, but I try not to rely on them too much, but they are there like great for convenience just in case I'm like running around. So my
Yeah.
diet does differ depending on the day, but I do try and get in like a consistent amount and try and get in as much nutrient dense food as well and not rely too much on all the processed meats and everything.
Mm. Yeah, totally. I get you. Because the processed stuff is easy. It's convenient. That's the whole point of it. That's its selling
Yeah.
point, isn't it? But yeah, I guess it's not ideal to rely on that. But then saying that, I do know a lot of like other, well, not powerlifters, but like bodybuilders, and they tend to rely on a lot of this stuff as well. And they seem like they're doing all right. I mean, it doesn't look like it's killing them. It's I guess comparing it to its counterpart, its non-vegan counterpart, you're probably going to be better off with the vegan processed stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to
Yeah.
put them head to head, purely on health. Obviously, on ethics, it's a landslide. We know which one is better, but even on health, it's still going to be better for the vegan stuff. And what is how often do you train, and for how long? I'm curious about that.
So I train 5 days a week, and then the other 2 days are like flexibility training,
Okay.
or like getting steps in. So
Mhm.
I depends on the session. So I have like SBD sessions, which is squat, bench, deadlift, and then
Okay.
accessory work, and they're my longest sessions, just because obviously it's the SBD.
Yeah.
And they can range between 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Sometimes, if I'm a little bit lazy, it will push toward past the 3 hour
Oh
mark,
my
but I
god.
try not to.
Okay.
I used to train for like 4 hours, and that was just ridiculous, and
Yeah.
it taking my whole day.
Sounds it.
So now I try and get it in between like 2 to 3 hours. I try
Okay.
not let it go past 3 hours. And then for like my other sessions, they range from like 90 minutes to 2 hours. So it's around that
Okay.
mark between 90 minutes to 3 hours. But I try not to let it take up too much
Mm.
of my day now because it can just become like your life. And I have a life outside of powerlifting as well. Do you know what I mean?
Do you really? You sure?
Well, I like to say that. I don't know if it's actually true.
Yeah. Oh,
I think right now that is definitely not true.
right. It's kind of
But
like when I say I've got a life outside of vegan stuff, and then it's like, okay, what do you do then? And I'm like, oh, Fuck, I don't know actually.
Oh no,
Let's
you
just pretty much
caught
talk
me.
about veganism all day.
Why'd you ask that? Yeah, so that's probably how long I spend on it, and then yeah, I'm really lucky. I've got a home gym, so it doesn't take too long, like getting
Nice.
to and from gyms. But I also try out different gyms, and I volunteer at a powerlifting club, which is like a community amateur sports club. So it helps to get more people in through grassroots.
Right, right.
So I also train there as well, which is pretty cool.
I want to ask you about that as well. About getting people in through grassroots, and I wanted to touch on this topic all the way from the beginning, but I wasn't sure how to get into it without offending someone. I don't think you don't seem like the kind of person to be offended, but you know how people can be
No,
these days. But
I'm not easily offended.
there are these stigmas, and there are these stereotypes around men and women, right? And I know a lot of women would be interested in doing powerlifting, probably interested in building muscle, but they won't do it because of the stigma that comes with a muscular woman, and how if they're straight, it intimidates a lot of men, and a lot of men are, the pussies with this kind of stuff. They get, oh, this she can bench more than me, so I feel like less of a man or whatever. It's quite common. I've seen it on Instagram
They
with
get so butthurt.
right, they get so butthurt. Like, I don't know if you know, there's a bodybuilder, a vegan bodybuilder called Jessica Greasley. I think Greeley her name is. She's got like crazy abs, like crazy six pack. Like it's mad. And I've seen some of the things people say, and it's really nasty. But if that was a dude, people would be like, "Oh my god, that's the best six pack." But because it's her, it's if that take her six pack and put it on a guy, and everyone would be like, "Wow, that's amazing." But because it's
Yeah.
on her, people are judging. So what advice do you have for women out there who would love to do what you do, or get anywhere near as good as you, just to try, and but they're worried about these stigmas, and how did you handle that? Did you face any of this in the beginning of your, or do you face any of it now? Like, just give us like an overall. I've asked you a lot of questions. Just pick one of them and
That's
go
fine.
for it.
Yeah, I think like initially a lot of women like that I've found always like, I don't want to get bulky and all this kind of thing, but it's like I train so hard to get bulky. Do you know how
Right, right,
hard it
right.
is? Like, it's very hard for women to put on that much muscle. Like as soon as you start training, you're not going to just put on all that muscle straight away. It's going to be a very gradual thing. And even like me training 5 days a week, and I've been training for like 4 years now, I still am really trying to gain more muscle. So in terms of that kind of like stereotypical, oh, you can get bulky. No, you're not. Not unless like you train really hard and like you eat enough and everything. You will see more muscle definition, which is what people think is toning, whatever toning is. But actually I found that like training has given me way more self-confidence and like actually shaped my body in a way that I really love. But what was the other question? Sorry.
So it's about, yeah. So it's about yeah. So I guess what you're saying is focus on what makes you feel good, not what other people think. Because this is what I was trying to get at, is that there is these stigmas that people might feel like they're being judged by, like especially if
Oh,
it's a straight woman, and men get whatever insecure and things like that. And I guess the question was, have you faced any of this yourself with a stigmas around being a muscular woman? And you are muscular. I've seen you with getting your bicep out, and it's like it's big. You have really big prominent muscles. Like, have you faced any silliness with that, and how are you handling it if you do?
Um, not really like in person or within the lifting community, because the lifting community like get it, and
Obviously,
they're
yeah.
around women who are like lifting all the time, so I think they kind of
Yeah.
accept it. I'm also seen it on actually like articles that I've been mentioned in.
Right.
People are always like, it's always the one, oh, she's on steroids, or like they can't accept that what I've done is I've done naturally, and they always
Ah,
always like make excuses as to why I'm where I am,
right.
or like kind of try and take away from my success. I found a lot
Mm.
of guys tend to do that, which is a bit weird. And I feel like I personally don't care what they think. I like, you've got to find your why. I always say to people, like, what is your reason for doing it? And it always should be for your own personal reasons, not for anyone else. It's either because you enjoy it, because you find it's really beneficial. Then if that's your why, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Do you know what I mean?
Fuck 'em.
And I think for me, like through adversity, you find strength. Like I've just been so much stronger from any backlash that I've got or whatever. I'm really lucky that I haven't had it as bad as like what some people have. But yeah, I think, yeah, for me personally, I couldn't give a crap what anyone else thinks. Like, this is what
I
I'm
like
doing.
that.
This is what I enjoy. And this is who I am. But yeah, I think there is a lot of stereotypes, and I think this has purely come from like what people think of women should look like, and that stem through media or generational, I don't know, whatever. But we're here to break that stereotype, right, and show that you can be whatever you can. Like, even fitness as a whole is all shapes and sizes. You don't have to be like strong and muscular. You can be strong and not be as muscular. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So, and I think that's what I really love about powerlifting, is that you're not judged on what you look like. Like, you can come from any background, wherever, and it doesn't matter. If you can either lift the weight or you can't. And that's what I love about it, because it's just so open to everyone and it's not judgmental at all.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't think about it like that. You know, it's I've seen different powerlifters and different people in this world. Some look absolutely shredded, and then some. I guess it's almost a little bit like because it's weight categories, right? So it's like boxing or UFC. It's like sometimes you get one dude or one girl that looks really slim, and the other one looks really stacked, but they're the same weight, and it actually doesn't. You know, it's not like one of them stronger. It's just different body types, right? And I guess that happens also in powerlifting as well. That somebody who looks leaner might be stronger than somebody who's got a lot more mass, but the same weight category, right? Am I right in
Yeah.
saying that? Like, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, like, there's all shapes and sizes. I mean, you tend to find with weight categories that you all tend to be similar heights.
Okay.
So like, you wouldn't find someone of my height in like the 57 category.
Right.
And if they are, then it's probably like they're just either starting out or they're like not a healthy weight.
Mm.
But you tend to find that you're all similar heights. But yeah, the body shapes are completely different.
Mm.
When you get to more like international level, I think that's when it becomes a little bit more similar in terms of body shapes. But
Okay.
still, even then, like, I'm competing against people who are shorter than me, different sizes. So yeah,
Mm.
I guess like it really doesn't matter. But yeah, it is in weight classes. But even in the weight classes, like, we're all different weight. Like, I'm in the
Right.
76 class, but I weigh around 73 kilos. So
Right.
I'm against people who are cutting down from, say, 80 kilos into 76, and they're like right on 76.
Okay.
So
Got you.
even then, we're still like, because 76 is still a very new class. So
Okay.
everyone's still trying to like find their positions where they are. So at the moment, everyone's like sitting at slightly different weights, and it's all kind of like
Right. Right.
fluctuating and everything.
I've been
Uh,
told that for fighting that I would have a weird height weight ratio. I'm curious to know if this is the same for powerlifting. So I'm 6'2" and I only weigh 70 kilos, and I've weighed that for a very long time. And it's not I just weigh it. It is the way it is. No matter how much I
yeah.
eat, I can go one up maybe if I really try, but then if I stop eating like loads, I just go back to 70. Is that like how would that fit into this world? Is it weird someone to be that tall in that weight category?
Yeah.
Yeah, would that be weird? Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that
because you'd be in the under 74 category, which is like, men have different weight classes to women.
right?
Um, and in it's actually quite weird because a 76 female
Mhm.
is taller and bigger than the 74 men, or even the 83 men. We are
Ah,
taller than the 83 men, like, most of the time, which is quite funny.
yeah,
So yeah, someone who's 6'2", you'd probably be looking at the under 105 category.
right.
Um,
Wow,
even
wow.
even the under 120s as well.
Mm,
I would say, yeah, even under 120s as well, you'd
yeah.
be
I
probably be
I'd
looking
like to
at.
say after training it would go up, but I don't think it would. My weight wouldn't go. It never has. It's weird. It's weird. But apparently, I'd be if I started fighting, I'd have a big advantage because of that, because of the reach. Apparently, in
Oh
fighting,
yeah,
it'd be a big
and you'd be
advantage.
against like the lighter weights as well.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Weird. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's been that since been this way for the last 10 years. Just never fluctuated. Just
just where
exactly
you
the
just
same.
naturally like to sit.
It's just where I
Yeah.
am. Yeah, very strange. I know. So, how would people get involved? How would you recommend somebody gets involved if somebody wants to kick start up with? Actually, not just somebody, women specifically, because I'm sure men can find easily get into this. They've got mates who do it, but I bet there's some women out there who might feel like they've no one to turn to like help with this kind of thing. So, like, how would you recommend somebody get started with this? A woman get started with this?
I think it's the same for men as well. Like we get a lot of men who don't really know how to get into it, or
Okay.
maybe don't have mates who are into training, and they've maybe come from a background of never been in sports. So I think like for both men and women, I would really recommend finding a local powerlifting club to start with.
Okay.
The reason why I say a club first over like just any other coach is because you've got the support of those coaches, and usually they're affiliated to a federation or whatever, and they've got those kind of like safeguarding and everything in place as well, and you can also be a part of a community. And it's quite nice, especially as powerlifting is such an individual sport, it's really nice to be a part of something, or like a part of a team. So I'd really recommend to start with, go find a local powerlifting club. If you're not sure, then reach out to your local division. And so like each so basically in England we have like different divisions, so we have like Greater London, Southeast, etc. So you could reach out to them and they'll point you in the right direction. And yeah, once you start training, usually a powerlifting club would also give you like a kind of like a club program, so you can get onto that, and they'll also help you with technique and everything. And then you join a federation. So there's so many different federations in powerlifting. Find a federation. I would research each federation and see which you prefer. I'm in the IPF, which is the biggest federation of drug testing. It's with WADA. We have recognition by the Olympic Committee and everything. So like I'd recommend the IPF personally. So within Britain, it's British Powerlifting. GBPF is the federation for us. So you just sign up and become a member, and then you can start with competitions. And I would thoroughly recommend to just go and do a competition. Like, don't wait around. Don't think, oh, but I'm not strong enough. Like, there is no entry strength level for a divisional competition, like your first comp. Like, I would just do it, see if you enjoy it to start with, because what's the point in doing all this training if you don't even enjoy it?
Yeah.
And then just go there to gain experience. Like, get to know how a comp runs and everything. Don't go in there with really high expectations of yourself. Just do it and enjoy it. And then more times than not, people just get the bug for it, and that actually helps their training even more, because now they've got like something to aim for, or they know exactly how everything is working. So it just gives them that drive in their training. And then from there, then you can look at, maybe if you want more personalized programming, then look to get a coach or whatever.
Like you.
Yeah,
Plug
I would
it.
say throw
Plug it.
yourself into the sport.
Plug yourself, like you, a coach like you, as you do
Yeah, like
coaching, right?
me.
Exactly. Come on, we got to plug it. That'll be in the description, and we'll put a link in there in the description for anybody who. And
Yeah.
also, before even starting all of this, go vegan, obviously, because that's the only
Oh, yeah,
way
obviously,
you're
yeah.
gonna win these records, these British records and stuff. Clearly, you got
Yeah.
to go vegan before you even start.
As long as you
Otherwise,
do it properly, don't start
absolutely,
restricting stuff.
absolutely,
It's
yeah,
always like, everyone's like, yeah, go vegan, it's so healthy. But it's like, it can actually be like really unhealthy if you do it wrong. Like, well, not wrong, but like, it's very easy to get into the junk food vegan scene and whatever. So
right,
it's like, as
yeah.
long as you're still eating nutritionally dense food and you're not restricting out meals, and like having that balance of like, the junk stuff and the other stuff, like instead of just like restricting out whole food groups, like that is
Oh,
not the way to
definitely.
go.
I had a guy I was talking to the other day on a live like discussions, like this Discord debates kind of thing, and he said, "I'm feeling really weak. My gym's not looking very good. I'm trying to go vegan. It's not working for me." I said, "Okay, tell me what your meals are." I couldn't believe it. Dude was practically eating a salad 3 times a day with
No.
no nuts, no seeds, no chickpeas, no lentils, no nothing of substance, vegetables, and sometimes a bit of rice. I was like, dude, you're eating a diet for like weight loss here. Like you're
Yeah.
going to the gym. Like this is, of course, you don't feel strong. What are you detoxing? What is this? It's like, bro. And he was laughing. It was, it was funny and everything. But it's like, man, you got to do it properly. Otherwise, you will, you're
I
not
barely
gonna.
eat salad. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it was so funny. Like, I think vegans have got this like irrational fear of salad because everyone thinks it's all we eat. So we're like, no, 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 I hate salads. Keep them away from me.
Friends with salad.
So what is the future for you, right? What is that? What is your next thing? Because are you planning on trying to smash more records in Britain? You've got a few you hold a few records for Europe, right? Are you what's the deal? You're gonna go global? What is your hope? What are your hopes and dreams?
So that 237.5 was actually only 10 kilos off the world record, which is
Okay.
pretty awesome. And considering how fast it moved as well, I got more in the tank. So like, long term, I would love to break the world record deadlift, like if I ever got the chance. But obviously, like for me, like records are always there to be broken. So I'd actually far more rather have a title than a record, if that makes sense, because no
Okay,
one can take that title away from you.
got it.
So I'd really like to become European champion because I'm so close. I came second last year. I'd like to be on the podium at Worlds as well. Would be absolutely awesome. But I like one day world champion obviously is the goal.
Amazing.
But you've always got these like newcomers coming in and they're strong as fuck. But yeah, you never know. Like, but that is obviously my goals. And for me, just keeping training consistent, keeping myself injury free, which is really important because most people end up falling off because of injuries. So as
Okay.
long as I can keep myself injury free, keeping my consistency of nutrition and everything. And yeah, just getting stronger. Like I'd love to one day hit a 600 kilo total because I think that's where our weight category needs to be, is around that, hitting that 600 kilo mark now. And it's just great to see other women getting into the sport and constantly pushing each other. Like I love all the ladies that I compete against, like they're friends of mine, and they can constantly are pushing me to just be better and get stronger, which is great. And just the standards just keep rising. And it's awesome to be a part of, to be pushing each other constantly and just breaking all these like stereotypes and barriers, and breaking what people think women can lift or whatever. I think is great. So
I
yeah,
agree. I'm
you
fucking
doing that.
impressed. That's why I'm here. That's why I brought you on. I think it's incredible. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
Thank
And
you.
and
But
I
also,
hope
sorry,
it's okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
oh, but also as like a female powerlifting coach, I feel like not many people touch on that because there's not many female coaches within powerlifting, especially at international level. Like when I coached the GB Masters team last year, I was like the only female coach there. So
Wow.
it's like also breaking those stereotypes in that like women can have like, can be in positions of power as well, in a sense, like can be in positions of like coaching or refereeing roles, or um like it's not just men. It's, you see it the same in football. Like there's one female referee and she gets
Yeah.
taunted the whole time and like
Yeah. Yeah.
just gets crap thrown at her, when actually she's a really high level referee. And it's the same within our sport. It is getting better for sure. But I did at the beginning really notice like a big kind of like divide in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but yeah, no, I think like there's so many more women within our sport now that it's just insane. Like when I first started, there's barely any women in it. And now it's like just blown up even just in the last few years. So it's so great to see, and so great to see so many women just benefiting from it in so many ways.
Definitely, and you're definitely a big part of that, I'm sure. And I hope to see more of you in the media, not just the weightlifting media, powerlifting media, but also in the general media. I mean, obviously, you're in the vegan media, which is great, so you're inspiring vegans. But yeah, I think you're in general what you're doing is inspirational. Just as a human being going out and doing something this is incredibly inspirational. So I hope to see you more in the mainstream as well, and especially it's for the two main reasons: for those stereotypes you're breaking with women, and as for me, my personal, obviously, what I want to see especially is you breaking those stereotypes in the vegan world as well, for the vegans
Yeah.
too. I mean, I'm biased. I'm definitely more biased towards the vegan world, but I think you're doing so much at the same time. I think it's great. So I hope I hope this podcast helps you along with that, with your message, and with getting these important messages out there, and getting people inspired. So thank
Oh
you for
no,
coming
thank
on.
you so much. No, yeah, it's I think it's just so important to show that like vegans can be strong as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's always portrayed that vegans are like endurance runners or whatever.
Right,
And it's
right.
nice to be able to show that like vegans can also be within strength sports. They're not weak all the time. um, but also like like just getting people trying different more plant-based foods or whatever, or just like maybe getting into that lifestyle a little bit more, like choosing like a vegan lever over a normal level. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Mm.
not just like you have to go fully vegan straight away. Like, you can just try it out. And like, I know not it doesn't work for everyone due to like health reasons or whatever, but like, I think there's always a way of making steps towards that. And just making those better choices as well.
Definitely, although definitely steps in the terms of health and for your health and for environmental reasons, people can make these like steps, and I totally agree, changing their diets. However, I really truly believe this, and maybe you disagree, but it's okay. We can agree to disagree on it. I think that if you make an ethical connection, if somebody agrees with you and I on the ethical connection, I don't think there's time for steps. It's life or death, right? If you realize what's going on, then just change and make it happen as quickly as you
Yeah.
possibly can. I truly
Yeah.
believe that's so important. Obviously, people make steps for like health reasons. People make steps for environmental
Yeah.
reasons. Yeah, well, they're kind of selfish reasons. But if you've connected with those animals, whether you're a powerlifter or not, if you connect, you realize, you see, and you say, "Do you know what? I do not want this to happen to them." Then let's get this moving. Let's make it happen. And come to
Yeah.
me or come to Sophia for help. We'll get you moving. We can help
Yeah.
you. We'll give you all the nutrition
Absolutely.
advice, everything you need. You could do it tomorrow. We'll set you up. It's all good. I believe we can encourage. Let's get moving on this. That's what I think. Do you
Yeah.
agree?
No, yeah, for sure. I think because as I said before, like I've always had like gone to extremes and stuff. So like
All
with
right.
veganism, I just went cold turkey with it, like pun the pun, like just like straight off, just like
Cold
went.
turkey.
I saw everything I needed to see, and I
Yeah.
was like, right, going straight in. But I guess like for what I was thinking is like not everyone thinks like that,
No,
or not everyone
totally,
sees it like that. So like the
totally.
best like other ways of getting people in is sometimes it is gradually, and
Yeah.
sometimes it is just dropping things off. But like, yeah, I totally agree. If you make that connection, then like why not just start straight
That's
away? Like,
it,
what are you
right?
waiting
That's
for?
it. And
But
if
like,
if you say to someone as well, if you say to somebody, take it easy, they'll take it very easy. But if you say to someone, hey, look, you agree with me? Look what these animals are going through. Let's move. They'll still take it easy, but it will be a lot less easy. Do you get what I mean? Not many people are going to do what you did and go snap. I get that. I get that. But
yeah.
if
I
we,
think
yeah,
the biggest thing for me that I've realized through my vegan journey is like before I was like very militant. Like I'd be super. I was just, I guess because I was so emotionally connected to it as well. Like I
mm,
was so upset by what everything was going when I first realized that I was just very angry with the world and like
mm,
very angry at everyone. And so I became very militant, but that actually didn't change many people. But I've actually realized I've changed or helped more people go towards like veganism for actually taking a step back and showing them instead of just telling them. And
mm,
like through me just doing powerlifting, I've actually helped way more people get into veganism, like through almost like through that way instead of just like telling them.
mm,
So like showing them how beneficial it is, showing them what I'm able to achieve on it, has helped them way more and influenced them way more than me like being really like, ah, like look at this, look at this. Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah.
just how I've personally found
Well,
like
you've got to
I
lean into
can
your
help
strengths.
people.
No pun intended. You've got to lean into your
Yeah,
strengths because you
yeah,
literally are strong. I had a podcast with Austin Aries, who's a professional wrestler. Which these guys have got to be like crazy, crazy fit. Like they do backflips off the side of ropes on top of people and stuff. And he said the same thing as you. And this is the thing: is if you have that in your toolbox, if you are somebody who is like a top level athlete, then yeah, work with what you're good at. Do what you're good at. That is you have that strength. So I think it's very smart to do that and to be like, hey, look what I can do while eating plants, and then people go, fuck, I want to do that, and it's a great
yeah.
entry. It's a great entry into this whole world. I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the same with my art at uni. I used to do a lot of protest art, so a
mm,
lot through like animal rights, and I'd do things that like at first you wouldn't realize it was like an animal activist kind of like piece of work, but it wasn't until you like looked into it more and the context behind it, then it was
mm,
like, ah. So that was another way that I kind of like did my kind of like veganism was through my art as well. So
yeah, clever.
there's different ways that you can do it, and everyone has those strengths, or like everyone has something that they're really good at or whatever. And I think
Totally,
if you can use those in ways to like influence other people is a really good way to go instead
totally
of just
agree.
like just slamming people with it.
Yeah. Yeah, they totally play to your strength, play to your strength. If your strength is slamming people, then Go for it. Like that. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of where I come in. I mean, I'm quite controversial. I can be quite confrontational, and I feel I don't feel so bad doing it. Like I feel like I can do it quite easily, and I'm happy to say what needs to be said, even though it offends. And I've always been like this. So rather than trying to hide that and be someone else, like I'm not Earthling Ed. I'm never going to be Earthling. I decided to
Oh,
lean
it's
into it.
insane. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember first meeting Earthling Ed, like, because we used to have these like vegan meetups within London. And I
Mm.
first met him before he even jumped on YouTube.
Ah.
And he was like, I think I'm gonna jump on YouTube and do like 10 reasons why to go vegan, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And like at the time we never knew that it was gonna like proper kicked
Wow.
off. But
Yeah.
that kicked off, and then he's just so good with his words and talking. Like I could
Mhm.
never do what he does just because he's just so quick with it and whatever.
Yeah.
And
He's
I know
great.
that I
Yeah.
just trip over myself or say something completely wrong. So so I'm gonna stick to my powerlifting. But
Totally.
a
Yeah.
good kind of thing, then like that's great.
Totally, you're totally right. Like you, none of us can be Ed, and no one else can be you either. No one can be me. You just got to go out there, and you're like, okay, what am I good at? I'm gonna do that. I've always been good at pissing people off. I'm sorry, it is what it is. So I'm leaning into that. You are smashing powerlifting. So you go and you do that, and you tell people like, oh, I only eat plants while I do this. Boom, doors open. That's fantastic, and you're setting records. So it's proof is in the vegan pudding with you, right?
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. I'm glad you touched on that. Everybody has something they're great at, and you can totally make that work for you as it's all activism in some way. You don't even need to call it activism if you don't want. I know some people don't even like the idea of activism. Influence people. Let's put it as that. You want
Yeah,
to
I prefer
influence
yeah,
people.
influence, yeah.
Yeah, you want to influence people, and yeah, tons of ways to do it. I just wish every vegan would do it right and influence. We'd have people making better decisions a lot faster if we all leaned into our strengths and used them to influence like you were doing. So yeah, it's great. It's great. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you
It's
so
been really
much.
nice to talk to
No.
you.
Yeah, you too. No, it's been nice. It's been a good mix of things we've gone through. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on.
And people can find you on Instagram as your name, Sophia Ellis. And I'll put a link to your coaching there as well in case anyone wants to hit you up for like, I don't know, maybe people want to hit you up for diet advice and stuff like that. I don't know if you offer that, but I'll put the link there. And
Thank
do you
you.
do that
Yeah.
as like a service
So
at all
I
or?
do like nutritional like
Oh,
guidance. I
great.
don't
Okay.
do like plans or anything like that. I just it's part of the coaching. I offer guidance.
Okay.
I'm more so like optimizing performance more than
Great.
anything. But yeah, I do my powerlifting coaching online, one to one, and classes, and then yeah, my Instagram Sophia Strength, and then I've got my Ellis coaching page as well.
Perfect. Well, all links will be in the description, so go check that out. Go and give her a follow. And you did have a YouTube, but it's not active now, right? Is that correct? Or
Um, it's actually back active again. So
oh,
I
great,
did, yeah, I had a YouTube and it was like on and off, and now I'm back with it again. I've kind of like not rebranded, but like almost starting up like a new kind of way of doing my YouTube videos. So I'm also focusing on like coaching, like technical. So I've gone through like the squat, the bench, and then I'll do some like on food and like yeah, getting back into it again,
great,
which is good. Yeah,
amazing. So I'll link that there as well, so people can find you there as well. Great.
awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot. Catch you later.
Great, thanks. Bye.